Board record meeting for December 7th, 2021. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I stand.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
Of America and to the republic for which it stands, nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Repeat roll call, please.
Director Gasca,
Present.
Director Hamilton,
Present.
Director Mack,
Here.
Director Moss,
Present.
and Director Stewart.
Here. Board of Directors consider adopting Resolution 21-27, renewing state of emergency findings for Assembly Bill 361, AB 361.
This is what we're gonna do at the beginning of every meeting.
Meeting,
So
right.
what we need is a motion and.
Is there a motion?
I'll also move. I'll second.
Moved by Director Gasca and seconded by Director Mack. Roll call, please.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Mack,
Aye.
Director Moss,
Aye.
and Director Stewart.
Aye.
Report of potential action items from closed session.
Thank you, Mr. President. The board met in closed session to discuss 8 items. First, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D4, significant exposure to litigation, 4 cases. Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D1, TC Construction Company, Inc. versus Rainbow Municipal Water District et al. Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D1, Rainbow Municipal Water District versus Bloom Inc. et al. Conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D2, 1 item. And the last matter, appointment, employment, evaluation of performance, general manager pursuant to Government Code Section 54957 B1. All 8 items were discussed and there is no reportable action.
Thank you, Alfred.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah. Blow over. Any additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda?
None from staff.
None from the board? Instructions to allow the public comment on agenda items from those attending this meeting via teleconference or video conference. If at any point anyone would like to ask a question or make a comment and have joined this meeting with their computer, they can click the raised hand button located at the bottom of the screen. We will be alerted that they would like to speak. When called upon, please unmute the microphone and ask the question or make the comments in no more than 3 minutes. Those who have joined by dialing a number on their phone will need to press *6 to unmute themselves and then *9 to alert us that they would like to speak. A slight pause will also be offered at the conclusion of each agenda item discussion to allow public members an opportunity to make comments or ask questions. Do we have any oral or written communications from the public?
Don, do we have any speaker slips?
We received no written comment.
Is Ahmed or nobody raising their hand in the online group?
Then I'll forgo reading all that stuff.
Okay.
Item number 16, CAL FIRE and North County helihydrant presentation.
Do you guys, yeah, does that mic on over there? Okay.
You hear me? Perfect. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nick Brown. I'm the aviation chief for CAL FIRE San Diego. I'm located out of Ramona. I oversee all the firefighting aircraft here in San Diego that's in control, or CAL FIRE has in control, which is all the fixed wing, which is our air tankers, our spotter plane. Those are located at Ramona Air Attack Base. And then our 3 rescue firefighting helicopters that are in cooperation with the San Diego County Sheriffs and CAL FIRE, San Diego County Fire. So I've been in the position, I've been with CAL FIRE for 21 years. All of it's been here in North County with the exception of my new position here in Ramona. And I would say it's about a year ago today, Robert Gutierrez, through Chief Marr with North County Fire, reached out to me and said, hey, I got an idea. Have you seen the helihydrant concept up in Orange County? I said, absolutely. I saw it there last month. I used it. They attacked one of the fires up there. Brilliant idea. It's something that I've been wanting to bring into myself down here in San Diego County. Well, his only first one was up there in Orange County, right? So I looked at it and I said, absolutely. So when he said he wanted to collaborate with us three, I went to heaven. Because for you guys, you all know that water is scarce, and in San Diego, you know, a lot of the water that we pull from, especially up here in North County, is from a lot of private agriculture, and a lot of that water is, you know, dirty, or there's a lot of stuff in there that we just can't pull from through the helicopters. So when he brought this idea forward, right, and we were able to push it forward, I just was in shock, because you look at all the clear water and the clean water now. Now, this is only one right now in San Diego, but I can tell you there's other water districts, including ourselves, that's looking to be able to procure more and get them established. That being said, the capacity that the helihydrant gives us as firefighters, especially in the aviation world, is crucial to be able to stop a fast moving fire to hopefully contain it, right? Because now what we did is you, the board, has enabled another dip site. And that's what we call them in the aviation side. Dip site that's clean, that's free of hazards. So all the helicopters, not only the ones I oversee, but the SDG&E ones, the Port Service, San Diego City, our partners to the north, Cal Fire, Hemet Ryan, they have the bigger helicopters, right? The black box that carry, you know, 1,000 gallons of water. So to be able to have this helihydrant, I can't thank you guys enough, and how well and how much it's going to be able to protect this community. Fortunately, we haven't had to use it this year, but you know,
That's why we built it.
Good.
Because if we hadn't, it'd all burned to the ground.
yeah. And this is no stranger, you know, Pala Mesa, Rainbow, Fallbrook, Bonsall, you guys have had your fair share of fires, and I've been on pretty much almost all of them, because like I said, I started my career up here. You look at the highway fire, the Rice fire, the Lilac fire, which are most noticeable large fire, right? But if you look at this year, we had a couple small fires. And the biggest one we had was just east of the district here, was the Pala fire out there in Pala Mesa, which burned about 350 acres. Now you take that same fire and you put it under a Santa Ana condition, it would have been in the district, right? And we would have been utilizing that helihydrant to save homes, life, property, infrastructure. So with that, this relationship, this whole entire helihydrant project that has been brought forth and shed light to the County Board of Supervisors, all the other water districts, all the other fire agencies, is something to be proud of. And I say that because not only are you able to save lives, infrastructure, and property, but I want to use the Aruba fire, for example, that occurred 2 months ago up in Rainbow, right? I remember that fire. I actually had field coverage. I was the first ride in DC from Cal Fire on it. We met at North County Fire Station 6 with my partner from North County Fire, Chief Brian McMillan. And sure enough, who shows up is Robert Gutierrez, representing the Rainbow Water District, and said, hey, Brown, what do you guys need from us? What can we do to assist you? I said, hey, this is what we can do. I need you to do boom, 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 boom. You got it. Him and his staff went and acted right away. Now imagine, right, it's pretty tough to get in close circles. I think we can all agree on that, right? And that's what I consider a close circle. Now imagine, had we have not met, right, this year, a year ago today, and he came up and wanted to do that, I would have still gave him all the respect and duties that I asked him to do. But it's that familiarization, and it's that bond based on what we had accomplished throughout this project that you guys approved. And I've always been told, why you don't make relationships at the tail board, you make it prior, so that way your incidents can be well ran in a smoother, more efficient manner. So I don't want to take up all your time, but on behalf of Cal Fire San Diego, I do want to thank all the board, constituents, and everybody who has made this project worthwhile. because I'm telling you, it will, mark my words, will save and make a difference. I'd like to introduce my partner, Chief Kevin Moore.
Good afternoon, board. Again, I don't want to take up too much time, echo what Chief Brown said, but our relationship that has formed between these three agencies is unprecedented at this time. Many agencies are watching us and want to have what we have, and it's all credited to you folks. I am the Deputy Fire Chief for North County Fire Protection District, and I oversee all emergency operations for fire and EMS. So Chief Brown and I have worked closely for many, many years from as I've moved up through the ranks. I don't think Robert was here for a couple of weeks in Rainbow when he reached out to me to establish a relationship. And since then, he has had incredible ideas and have done nothing but bring the Rainbow Municipal Water District in alignment for emergency purposes and responses throughout your response area and our mutual response area. The hell hydrant is just another example of the progression that your organization has shown towards protection to the communities of Fallbrook, the Bonzel, and Rainbow that you provide services to. From your establishment of getting common communications with the 800 megahertz radio system, that has been a tremendous asset that we utilize daily now that has made our responses efficient. So aside from the hydrant, I thank you for approving that budgetary item, which has helped us work better together. With that, we have a couple plaques. One plaque is for the board as a whole in our appreciation for your work. We'd like to read that. And another one is specifically to your operations manager, Robert Gutierrez, for his excellent leadership throughout this whole process and continued leadership from the emergency side of things for your organization. I have to get my glasses. We've got yeah. So which one do I have? Okay, I have the board one. So this one is to the board, and it's a plaque that says Cal Fire San Diego and the North County Fire Protection District would like to recognize the Rainbow Municipal Water District and its board of directors for being proactive in supporting the installation of the first rapid aerial water support system within the San Diego County. This is a tremendous example of the dedication that the Rainbow Municipal Water District has to ensure the safety and well-being of the communities in which it serves. Again, we thank you. And I also have a challenge plan for each member of the board and the general manager and
Robert, you want to come up for yours?
Come up to the board president. How about we
There you go.
There you go. Yay.
You can take the picture.
Okay, there you go.
I
Oy.
got all kinds of items in my hand here. There you go, sir.
Great job, everybody.
Good camera.
So
Get that.
the second one is
Just
for
push off and out of the
Robert
way.
here, and it states Cal Fire San Diego and North County Fire Protection District would like to recognize Robert Gutierrez for his outstanding leadership and progressiveness in the installation of the first rapid aerial water supply system within San Diego County. This is the example of exemplary leadership and collaboration between entities in ways to improve the safety and well-being with the communities we serve. So thank you very much, Robert. Appreciate it.
You want mask off?
For those awards. We already have one in for this.
Not for CSDA.
I think so. And Aqua. I think we did. We did? Yeah. Hey, before you guys go, I think Hayden has something for you guys.
How many? Remember,
There's 4 board members here and 1 general manager. That's right.
Oh,
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm so sorry I'm not there.
Well,
And what I'd like to add is, you know, you talk about the support, I think the way, Lyman. the most important one, is you guys came on the conference, I think, to make sure that it didn't burn down. So it was shaded by it. But the whole thing, when Robert presented this to us, we went, that's a no-brainer. We recognize that we have 80 square miles of coverage. I've already been trying to let as far as I'm concerned, that is this is the backcountry. Critical for also prevent you guys from safety. I watched you guys working and qualifying down in the creek, flying up, go over, drop them and come back. And here you're sitting on top of the mountain. Really safety is great. Good for you as well as thank you very much.
And I think,
Look forward to working closer.
well, that's right, because one of the reasons that we want to get out in front of, get it out there is to show it's possible to get the supervisors and the state to start funding this. And with your guys' support, hopefully we'll be able to free up those monies to help defray the costs. The first one was on us, but the rest of them, we gotta.
Just one more thing before you guys leave. I appreciate it and really enjoy working with you guys. My experience over the last 25 years working with fire agencies, 20 years ago, this conversations would never have happened. So it takes two to dance and two to tangle, and we're able to communicate across lines, and we're here to serve the public, and it worked out really good for us. Just one last quick thing. Tom and I have been talking about this water district. They want to come up and look at our heli hydrant now and talk to us about it. Like their board is keeping very close to pulling that paper as well. So we definitely started the trend.
Yep.
You set the standard, you set it high.
And I think the individual costs will come down as we learn how to do it. You know, the cost right now is reasonable, but I think we can probably do it for a lot less, which means a lot more opportunities for you guys.
Yeah, I'd like to add something. So I did eight years with Running Springs Water District, and we had the fire department under the umbrella of our county water district, as well as water. And it was a real easy marriage. And I know, you know, the water department took care of the hydrants and did all kinds of things because they interfaced all the times with their counterparts in our own, you know, fire department. And it's more of a challenge because we're not all under one roof. But I was excited when Robert, you know, took the step forward. I think staff has really laid down a challenge to the board in that we have a responsibility, I think, to reach out to your board, North County, and see how we can collaborate along the same lines and do things better, and in whatever way we can with CAL FIRE. And I really appreciate what you guys have done. I think it's cutting edge. And I think that's where we need to be, especially in the arena of fire, as all of us are impacted by that. So thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. That was a good statement.
All right, thanks.
You're not saying.
Yeah.
Item number 17, employee recognitions.
Okay, today we get to give an employee recognition, and one of the first ones I've done in public over the last 2 years. So Scott Simpson, 15 years. Scott's over here, all right, and he started back in 2006, and so he started as a laborer in a water service crew, and then moved into being a valve maintenance guy here. Well, I gotta stay on the microphone, sorry, so Pam can't hear. So obviously he's one of our more seasoned employees in there, and he's received a couple teamwork nominations and honorable mentions for in that area. And fun fact, he's also brought his drone here and did some, and he's a drone pilot. So I know that staff really wants to get one of those in the budget. And but I know, didn't you take that one of that line going up Rainbow by Rainbow, where we have a pipeline that's exposed on the side of a really steep slope, and it's great to be able to have that. And so Scott, what's the funniest thing you've run across? I always love asking that question
The
because they
general
always
manager.
He goes back too far.
Not for here, okay, I guess that's something only for over up here, so. I'll give you that. Oh, hold on, we got the-
Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can't see you smile.
Well, congratulations. Oh.
All right.
You don't have any kind of funny story you want to tell? Anything creepy crawly come out of a ballot box?
Just bee stories and spiders all over.
Mhm.
Story about you.
Yeah.
I want to Brian in the bees. Yeah, I mean, we work with a lot of people here, so it's always fun to kind of give each other a little hard time. You guys are a little bit more, have more energy than others, but one of my bosses is like, I'm not afraid of any bees. I'm like, I was almost attacked by a bunch of bees. I'm not going over there. You went over there, I'm like, I wouldn't go over there if I were you. And so I pulled out my camera and started recording.
Got attacked by bees.
On the way there, and he's swinging, throwing his hat. Everything's going around, cracking up. And I got one good shot of him running, and his face was terrifying. So you were afraid of bees. By the way. It was that. Yeah. So, yeah, it was pretty good. All right. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for everything.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. 15 more years, Scott. Item number 18, approval of minutes, October 26, 2021 regular board meeting and the November 17th, 2021 special board meeting. Are there any changes or amendments to the minutes? Do I have a motion?
So move.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Gasca, seconded by Director Mack. Roll call.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Mack,
Aye.
Director Moss,
Aye.
and Director Stewart.
I abstain.
Okay.
Didn't attend.
Item number 19, Board of Directors comments and reports. President's report. I have nothing specifically reported other than the town hall meeting that we had at Fallbrook. Went very, very well. Was very well attended, just like the one that we had at the Bonsall School Community Center. And
we had about 30 people viewing online as well,
oh, that's
both
right.
on YouTube and on
Forgot about the
Zoom.
YouTube people. It was quite spirited in the discussion with the LAFCO Executive Director, Keen Simon. Be interesting to see how that carries over as we move forward. And that's pretty much it. San Diego County Water Authority.
It's been somewhat eventful recently at the Water Authority. They haven't done anything really crazy recently, although as I reported previously in the long range financing plan that I'm trying to remember back, because we haven't met in this board since early October, or since October, but they did when the city indicated they had to provide 5-year capital planning notices and then start evaluating how to offload some of our take or pay contracts. The Water Authority came back for just under $1 million worth of 3 new FTEs and consultants to do that work, which was a bitter pill to swallow. But that work, and I think part of it was a poison pill, trying to get the board to say, we don't want to spend that money. But that sort of transparency and communications from the Water Authority is vital for us to make important decisions going forward, as well as should the drought continue and the state declare mandatory cutbacks irrespective of your supply conditions, just like they did last time, it's likely the Water Authority will go under its take or pay contracts in their total demands because they're on that close of an edge. And so that was welcome. We are having additional meetings here to go through some of the specific implementations of that and to bring it forward through the general managers group as well, to look at how they're looking to start to revise rate structures and things like that. The Water Authority is looking at potentially increasing some sort of fixed charge This has been talked about many times. I mean, a truly fixed charge. Right now, the water authority's fixed charges are based on your 3 and 5 year rolling averages of demand. But they're starting to talk about a charge that goes per meter or per assessed valuation or something like that. That's been looked at several times over the 20 years I've been monitoring water authority, and it never gains traction because the big urban players down there do fare worse than the rural players in an unusual twist, because normally we get the short end of the stick up here in the rural areas. And for that reason, it's unlikely to pass. But we shall see how that goes forward. So we were supposed to be having a workshop with a board retreat to work on some of the divisiveness at the water authority. That was supposed to happen over the summer. Ain't happened yet. I don't have a schedule when it's going to happen yet. So I guess the whole discussion on whether the water authority needs an ethics office is going to keep getting kicked down the road. But that's about all we have to report right now. And there's summaries of some of the board meetings that are, oh, hold on, it should have been attached. Were they not? My link doesn't have a link, but oh, it's probably an agenda. Okay. So that's all I have to report on the water authority.
Thank you. CSDA.
Yes, I got a couple things to report. Since we didn't have a meeting in November, I wasn't able to tell you, we had a legislation committee meeting in October, late October. And they went on to say, actually, they introduced one gentleman. I don't know if you guys knew the gentleman's name was Dylan. He moved on and he's now in Washington, D.C. And they showed, introduced the gentleman that's taken Dylan's spot. Then they went on to say that they got the legislature to agree we're going to have a special district week. And it's a possible there's going to be a national special districts week also. And they're going to have, which I thought we always had it in May, but they mentioned it might be in March, meet in person with your legislators. I mean, I always thought it was May, but they mentioned it in March. So I'm not quite sure on that one. Also, in the past, they always gave Legislator of the Year award. And now they've come, now they're going to, instead of just one, they're going to give out 3.
Oh,
because they believe there should always been one in the senator, one for a congressman. I really don't know who the third one, but the one's going
assembly member.
The governor.
to, well, one's going to go to Senator Melissa Harda. I guess she was very helpful in some of the things that they were trying to pass through. Congressman Hall and a gentleman named Robert Rivas. Those are going to be the 3 people that are going to be getting the awards.
Not from our area.
So
Is it Senate Assembly and a U.S. Congressman?
very well could be. They mentioned there's
Rivas
a
is an
congressman,
assembly member out of the, so it's assembly member,
senator,
and a
congressman.
congressperson.
Okay, yeah. So those are the 3. Now they're going to give out 3 because they said they figured it wasn't really fair when just giving out one award when there's, so they really wanted to give them out to each
branch.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, that was pretty cool. The other thing is AB 361, which we do anyway now that we have to now every 30 days go. And so they brought up, make sure you guys do that in all your meetings, got to do it every 30 days. So that was on that. And then also, as I was telling you in the October meeting that, I was going to apply again. Well, unfortunately, come to find out, I was waiting for the email to get on the ledge committee and I never got it. When I talked to Chris Palmer at the quarter meeting, it come out that was already closed and I'm not on it. So, because I never received an email, and he says, well, Mike, don't feel too bad. There's another person on the committee that didn't, they're complaining too. They never got an email. And then I talked to Joe McKenzie and I questioned her about that since she's on the committee too. She goes, yeah, I never got one either. Says, but I contacted them and said, can you please forward me that information so I can apply? And she goes, it was very obscure. They had it like in brochures in the back. And before, the year was always called for people for these positions. I always got an email and there was no email this year. And so I'm bummed. I got on for 1 year and now I'm not on it next year. So I'm kind of disappointed, to be honest with you. So
Yeah, Joe mentioned that to me as well when I was talking to her, and that she getting the feedback they need to do a little bit better job on letting people know.
Yeah, so
She's on the state, board at CSD and didn't know, so don't feel bad.
yeah. And she made a comment. She goes, Mike, they have a new computer system. She says it's like a Lamborghini. And she goes, no one knows how to run it. It says they're used to if it's a Ford or a Chevy. Says, but this is a Lamborghini. So she goes, there's a lot of work they need to work on. So I go, okay. So I'm kind of bummed. So
Here's one other bit of CSDA news you can share.
district transparency
Yeah,
of excellence.
We were redone for,
How come they didn't present this to us?
they just sent it over to us. When did we-
Woohoo!
So our district transparency certificate of excellence has been renewed till 2024, I believe it is.
Yep, December
And so
2024.
Don gets the credit for getting all the paperwork together. for
Thank you,
us.
Don.
But
Great job, everybody.
our audits, our website, all our stuff meets the requirements for their certificate of excellence. So that's one of the categories for getting district of distinction is you need to have this. So you can pass that around and we'll,
And then the next one, we're gonna go for platinum, right? Is that kind of the next?
it's the next level up from where we're at. Well, once we get all the board members through their training, and I'm working.
I'm gonna do it.
I've got to finish 7 hours of continuing education. I did a nice hour-long seminar with Brett Ives on how to be a good board president today. And so, but that's part of the thing.
And then the other thing is we had a quarterly meeting in November, dinner meeting, and that was kind of an unusual one. They made a panel and the president was asking the panel of three. One was a owner of a construction company. The other was a lady from, I believe she said Las Vegas from AWWA.
So that's Sue Mossberg. She used to be a Sweetwater, but she's the executive director for California, Nevada, AWWA.
And he just happened to ask questions like how's the pandemic getting new hires, how's that going? And then, so each one had their own perspective of how it's affecting the public and the private. And one thing which really caught my ear was the lady from AWA says it has really impacted water districts, and she gave the reason why. She says, I guess there's different levels of meter reading twos, meter reading certifications. And she said, believe it or not, they are, when you put in your application, they're running because the pandemic, they're running, I think she said anywhere from 6 months to 9 months to a year before you can actually then, I mean, you put in your application, but it takes that long just to get your test. And then she went on to say, it's taken up to 6 months after you take your test to get your results.
The
So
state of California took it over from AWWA about 20 years ago. 20 years ago, so Robert, wouldn't that have been all right? And it's been an unmitigated disaster to take a program that AWWA ran just fine for decades and give it to the state of California to run.
So yeah,
Take it back.
It'd be nice, but they like that money.
so
During the pandemic, the state shut down, wouldn't allow any testing, right? So this, and Carlene, I've had multiple conversations about, it impacted promoting people because job classifications say they have required to have certain certifications. Then the state finally decided to do it online. Before, you had to show up. And so you would show up into a room somewhere, there was a big hall, there'd be 500 people in there testing for various distribution tests or treated tests. Now they're doing online. They started reactivating online. Before you could only do it twice a year and you had to show up in person. Now it's online whenever you want. So everybody was happy. We thought, okay, this is going to speed things up. It's actually gotten worse. And like you said, it's actually a year. So what they did is everybody that had tests scheduled for when COVID started, those tests got put on hold and they prioritized from that to get people in schedule for the electronic testing. And they're slowly making their way. But it's that you never catch up on. And two-part process. You have to submit an application to take the test. They approve it. Then you have to take the test. And then you have to submit another application to get your certificate. So we're having staff at least a year from the time they submit to take the test, to the time they get a certificate is at least a year, if not longer.
We have one employee at least that's waited 18 months since he applied to get it. And that's the last thing that he needs to get promoted. And he just can't get the certificate. We had a letter with the bargaining units during COVID when the tests were completely canceled as a temporary waiver of certain requirements for certain, series positions. But as soon as they implemented the computerized testing, we thought, great, testing's going to be available again. So the side letter sunsetted and it's not as available as it would have seemed on paper.
Yeah, so that was a big eye opener. So, and that's it for CSDA.
Cool. Thanks very much, Director Mack. LAFCO.
LAFCO, earlier this week or late last week, LAFCO released their draft MSR municipal service review for the Fallbrook region, which includes FPUD, North County Fire, and Rainbow MWD. The documents on LAFCO's website. Staff did have some back and forth with them in the days before the release. It's strange because there's been 3 different project managers on this project over the last 2 years at LAFCO. It's taken quite a while. But the MSR is out for a 45-day public review. We've given a number of comments so far. We'll give a few more before it's done. But overall, the picture that it paints of this area is that the high cost of water has really damaged agriculture, and the loss of sales for Rainbow during their study period went down to almost 25%. Puts financial stress on the organization, which is to be well understood. And Fallbrook and Rainbow are in essentially the same boat in that regard. I did testify briefly at the LAFCO committee Monday and indicated that yes, that part is true. The loss of our agricultural users and water sales is A, damaged our only economy, and B, made it difficult on the finances of everybody up here because any business, you're selling less, the times get tough pretty quick. And I also indicated that was the main motivator for the detachment proceedings that are underway right now. That the report does indicate that it's county policy to preserve agriculture where they can. We do need to dispel LAFCO of the mistaken notion that when avocado trees go away, houses appear, because I have to drive them around, I guess, and take them to a few avocado groves because they're not on flat ground. And they're usually zoned to 1 house per 10 acres and things like that, to where those are going to be the last places where people build homes. North County Fire, Fallbrook, and Rainbow also will be giving some comments on how they interpret financial statements and their lack of, I don't want to say lack of understanding, but their lack of ability to understand the real meaning of them. And they did give a negative outlook, which is probably not true. I mean, obviously, when you have over the last 15 years, 60% of your sales disappear and the cost of your supply go up by a couple 100%, that creates financial stress in any organization. But it's not that there's any kind of immediate challenges that can't be dealt with. Water cost will, if they continue to rise the way they are, continue to decimate the agriculture industry. And that's something, the image that we're going to make sure is well understood by the commissioners. So if anybody likes, it's on the website. If you can't find it, let me know. I'll shoot you a link. And then we got 45 days to comment, and then they'll adopt it at the February meeting. That's it for LAFCO.
Santa Margarita Watershed Master Steering Committee will meet in January.
We did get their report, though, the Water
Yeah.
Masters report. So
I did get a notice of that as well. So we have their annual report. Aqua.
I wasn't able to attend the conference, but
I was
shout
able
out
to.
Michael,
And the very first 2 days, that was JPIA. The CEO, Andy Sells, gave an update of how the organization is doing. And he also introduced a new second in line, a lady that she's been doing this for, I think she said, the last 17 years, and kind of sounded like he's getting close to retirement. And that's why they're bringing her along. And it sounds like she could be the new CEO. I mean, but that's kind of like how they presented it. Also, we had to do, one day was on voting and an afternoon, which it was basically cleaning up their bylaws. And one we had a vote on was they are not an insurance company, and because they're nonprofit, so they had to change their verbiage of how they say things and how they someone overseeing, I can't remember the organization that oversees them. So they were told you need to change this. So that we had to do a bunch of voting onto changing their bylaws to meet what the new standards, since they are not an insurance company. Then in the afternoon, there was one that was only supposed to be a little over an hour, but they stayed on this one subject that was for over 40 minutes. It was on cyber liability. And he went on to say that their premium was $130,000 last year. And they just got the renewal notice for $970,000 for this upcoming year. And that's because they had 3 claims totaling $700,000 plus, and just one alone was $400,000 because it was one where ransomware where they so they paid out the 400 grand.
Wow.
So yeah, and then he went on to say that there's going to be a questionnaire sent to all the water agents. You have to fill this out to get it back to them. They said it is intense, a lot. Maybe this is most likely to be your IT person needs to fill this out. And if you don't get it back to them, you will not be part of the process. You won't get that coverage. You're gonna have to go on your own to get the cybersecurity. And that was another problem, is he was trying to come up with a way how they could reduce that cost. And it was quite interesting. All 5 board members had their own individual idea how they should do this. And so each one had their own idea, which one of them, the people in the audience didn't really like, because he was saying the one he was suggesting was a surcharge, an additional $3,000 to the agencies to help subsidize other agencies that don't have a person. And JPI would send somebody over and help them. And that was a big, that kind of lit a fire under a lot of the audience, like, we're not here to subsidize other people. And then Jerry, who's the president, he goes, well, I disagree. I think we're a big family and we should just be here to help each other. And the audience didn't buy that one. So that was really interesting to see that thing going on. Then the next 2 days were Aqua. And this one, I don't have to admit, I think overall they've done better. Breakfast was definitely horrible.
My goodness.
But that being said,
It's their first time at a new venue in Pasadena. Let's just say it didn't go over, it wasn't as well produced as we've seen in the
and
past.
they apologized because it was there and also being Zoom. And so some of the things they had quirks, didn't seem like they worked them out properly beforehand. Then I had to go vote, and we have a new president of Aqua and a vice president. The vice president is Kathy Green, and she's from Orange County. And she was actually the vice president of our Regional 10. Now she has to vacate, and they have to find somebody to take her position. And then a lady named Pam
Tobin.
she got elected, and which is really weird, because I had to go vote, and there was only one candidate running for each office, so you really didn't have a choice, but that's the way it was. And the last day on Thursday, I went to the 7:45 meeting till 9. That's where it was Regional 10, and Pam came in and spoke to us, and the board members tell them that what she's going to want is for Region 10 officers to start reaching out to all of the agencies, and she wants to know what our issues are, how can we help, and says it's a big homework assignment. This is what I'm telling you guys want to do. So she goes, start getting prepared for questionnaires. She's telling the board to start getting it fun, because she wants to know how, and her thing is Aqua's here to help everybody. And so get those questionnaires out. You or somebody's going to be filling them out and letting them know what are things that we need to have done. And so she sounds pretty active. I mean, I kind of like the lady. I guess, yeah, that was pretty much it. for Aqua.
Okay, thank you. Meetings, workshops, committee seminars, et cetera, reports by directors, AB 1, 2, 3, 4.
Would that be me? Because I was there. And I attended the San Diego County Water Authority end of pipeline session. And all it was a big PR thing. And not very useful, but it also told me that I believe Sandy is the director. Is that correct? Anyway, didn't have a lot of engineering knowledge. And that's all I can say about that one. The one that I went to the second day regarding acquisitions and sales, etc., was quite good. It was very educational and quite helpful. And I will put that in writing as a report because I think it's important that we get the key points. That's it for me.
I would like to add one thing when they brought
Go
up
ahead.
the president from Region 10. I guess she said a lot of times, or she says most of the time, Region 10 is asked upon at the very last second because these classes that are supposed to be done by a certain region, they fall through and don't do it or something collapsed. And so at the last minute, they have to come up with something. And they brought up the one where the lady from the Water Authority, what's her name, Sarah?
Sandy Curl.
Sandy.
Yeah, she was there, and the
Yes,
two
I
others,
was
they
there.
said at the last moment, they had to come up with something because other districts just dropped the ball and says, they don't mind doing it, but they're just,
Getting
Shoot.
tired of being always called upon.
well, but that's why she was also kind of say, maybe they weren't so perfect because they're told to come up with something at the very last moment. And so, I mean, that's where some of them, like I said, this was kind of, didn't seem like it was well planned, but, after.
I'm on your page, Michael.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I've been to several aquas and they're all usually much better than that one. I don't know, Bill, you were there as well.
Coming off a year of hay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a good comment. But coming off a year of hiatus didn't help the organization. They may have lost some of their institutional knowledge somewhere along the line.
And a new venue.
New venue, which is very difficult to work with if you've ever booked a conference with a hotel and or convention area. And trying to find out exactly who to hook up with and how to prepare for that is always difficult. So let's give them a little nod that direction that
A mulligan.
Aqua will.
A
Yeah,
mulligan, that's right.
they'll get a
They should
mulligan.
in the weeds next year.
They'll get a mulligan next year. This year, we'll give them one. I did attend a conference session on harassment, sexual harassment essentially, but that is required, and one of the required courses to maintain a certification through CSDA. I was on the board for 3 years from late 15 through late 18, and did achieve that certification. And so I only have 2 classes to make up, and my certification will be renewed. That was one of them, and I have to take ethics online. And so I was able to get through the 2 hours of that training. All of us have to do that every 2 years or 3 years. And it's a long 2 hours.
It's longer if you do it
useful.
online.
But useful, I'll say, because almost every time I've taken it, there's been a new wrinkle and more cases and more examples. And I think is helpful if you're trying to navigate today.
Yeah.
In the environment that we
Yeah,
work in.
The minefield that we all exist in.
So,
Okay.
Other than that, that happened in the first week I was back on the board. Thank you for the directors for appointing me. I'm looking forward to serving District 4. A lot of our constituents now lie on the east side of I-15, starting with Horse Creek Ranch and then moving southward. There's going to be a lot of new development coming in over the next several years as those areas populate, and with all the new residents that have moved in the last 3 years across I-15. I want to make it clear that I'm available, that if you have issues and concerns that can't be answered through the normal service provided through the staff and the office, that I'm quite available by email, especially to make first contact. And the email address is, like everyone else's on the board, is bstewart@rainbowmwd.com. And so I would look forward to hearing from you if you have issues of concern. A lot of those areas are brand new and, basically new everything, new water systems, new sewer systems. So, probably not going to see a lot of service issues, although that's possible. Also, though, part of my district has been here a long time, and it's part of the Palo Mesa area. And the Palo Mesa area, are all subdivisions and condominiums that were built anywhere from 30 to 40 years ago. The one I live in is 35 years old and experiencing all of the problems that subdivisions of that age begin to experience, including water and sewer issues. So I'm also quite available to all of the folks in the Palo Mesa areas and areas between basically 76 and Retchie Road that are part of that of my constituency area. So I just wanted to reach out to those folks who live in District 4 and say, while it isn't necessary often because of the great service our staff provides, from time to time, there are issues that you may want to contact me about. See what I can do. Thank you. That's it.
Moving on with director's comments, we've had bills. Does anybody else have any director's comments to add? Legal counsel comments.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I did a written report on a recent Ninth Circuit decision that's raised a lot of concerns in the public water supplier community because it takes a very expansive interpretation of RCRA, which is the Resource Conservation Recovery Act. In that case, the city of Vacaville delivered water that tested positive for hexavalent chromium, and that the CR6 hexavalent chromium came from a wood treatment industrial site several miles away, and the city had nothing to do with the storage or generation of the waste. The water met all drinking water standards, but the Ninth Circuit on a summary judgment motion still held there is a triable issue of fact as to whether the city can be held liable under RCRA's imminent and substantial endangerment provisions, which is very troubling because, like I said, the water met all drinking water standards, Safe Drinking Water Act, MCLs, et cetera. But because there was this allegation of delivering discarded hexavalent chromium, the plaintiffs tried to tie it into RCRA, which is, waste disposal law, and it's something water agencies haven't had to, worry about before. The prior precedent all required some sort of involvement in the generation or storage of the waste. So the city has filed a petition for reconsideration before the Ninth Circuit, and Aqua is very concerned about it and has been following this. Myself and the Aqua Legal Affairs Committee, we put together an amicus curiae brief that we filed with the Ninth Circuit, hopefully to get this turned around, because it's a very bad precedent. So the city's indicated, if for some reason the Ninth Circuit doesn't accept this, they're strongly considering filing a writ of certiorari before the United States Supreme Court because it's such a significant issue.
Wouldn't they appeal to state Supreme Court first or not?
Yeah, well, this is it's federal.
The
RCRA is a federal legislation,
Oh,
right? So
federal
it's before
Ninth Circuit.
the
Okay.
federal Ninth Circuit, right? Exactly. And also, I'm appointed to the CSDA Legal Advisory Group, and we put together our year-end summary of cases of interest for local agencies. So I've passed off to Tom and the directors a copy of all of that for your information.
Yeah.
So that includes my report. Unless there are any
If
questions.
I read this right, that exposes every water agency like ours that buys their treated water from somebody else to exposure from a unwarranted
One part
suit.
per trillion of something in it.
Thank you.
Right, exactly. This case was filed by Riverwatch, and that's part of the big problem, especially now that, there are all these concerns associated with PFAS. If this, argument stands for hexavalent chromium, people can say the same thing for PFAS, and that's, so ubiquitous. I mean, household
Yeah.
products and everything
It's
else.
running.
So, yeah.
Then it'll be, then there's other things.
Even though you meet the state standards for water quality, you can still be in the hole.
Mhm, right.
Yeah, and there's some
And
things that
email me a copy of that, please.
his report
Yes, please.
in the board packet on page.
No, what his handout is.
Oh, that one. Okay. Yeah.
We'll,
Okay.
we'll make sure you
I'm-
get a copy, Pam.
Okay. Yeah.
41 through 40.
Thanks.
So
I'm sorry.
yeah, there's other
No.
things that like uranium or something like that that's both naturally occurring and a waste
Right.
that ends up in water. And then they'll think of which was it? You know, if anybody along the Colorado River gets small amounts of that, that's just there. But there's also some of it that's from mining activities. And like, what's next, guys?
Okay, moving on. Item number 20, committee reports. Flint, I'm going to take them out of order so that I can run you back to back. So we'll let Communications and Customer Service Committee go first. Bill?
Oh, yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
We got you.
Mr. President and management, members of the board. So we met just this past week on the, let's see, what day was that? The 2nd. And quite a few updates on various topics from the arrearages program, the drought restrictions program, the online survey process that the team is kicking off, emergency notification, redistricting, and review of different types of coverage and storage or stories. We did want to thank Bill for his participation and contributions to the committee over the last few years. Very much appreciated, and congratulating him on his rejoining the board. We also wanted to kind of ramp up, given Bill's departure, recruitment for the committee. So we're asking everyone to talk to friends, neighbors, associates during the holiday season to see if anyone wanted to join our committees, and we're going to put out a press release to talk about committee volunteers and the need for those, and kind of the roles, important roles that they play, and the contributions that they make. Also wanted to congratulate management and all the workers with regards to the top workplace distinction that the district earned. And I think that was about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
If you're not familiar with the top workplace award that we got, you have to understand that that was done by the employees, that management had no role to play. So based on feedback from the employees and staff, conducted by was it the Union Tribune?
Yeah, Carlene
Okay.
can weigh in on this.
It was conducted by Energage, which is
Okay.
a nationwide research company. So we did an employee survey over the summer conducted by them. And because they're nationwide, they're able to submit their information, and they partner with local newspapers in order to name top workplaces based on the results of their surveys in comparison to how other employers performed in each category in each region.
So are they beating down the doors now? Your door?
We don't have anything posted, but we're definitely gonna celebrate the acknowledgement for sure.
We have a Zoom backgrounds that we've got for people, and email signature lines that we can send around the board members as well. I don't know if it went to
Yeah, we're working on what Ahmed on the quality of the images for the email signatures, but yeah, we're definitely gonna use the recognition.
They do want to sell us a lot of bling associated with it.
Yeah, they definitely want to
Plaques and stuff.
sell us some newspaper
It's
ads.
like
Yeah.
Who's who?
Uh-huh.
But we've got the
You can pay for
logos and
it.
the artwork, but then I think we're gonna get some of the window clings, I think, for in here.
Decals and
Some
for
decals.
trucks
Oh,
and
okay.
windows
Trucks,
and
things like that,
Mhm.
but not.
Good job, everyone.
You can spend a lot. That's definitely, there's some marketing angle to this for those guys, but it is, like you said, it is as a great testament, because they weren't asking me questions or Carlene, they were asking everybody else.
Cool. Budget and Finance Committee, Flint.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. The committee met on November the 16th, and there are several items on your calendar today that the committee has reviewed and are recommending for your action. Item 21, the audit report and financial statements acceptance. The committee has gone over that. Tracy made a very elegant presentation, and so the committee is unanimously recommending that the board accept the audit. Also, items 22 and 23, which are the customer variance requests. Once again, the committee reviewed those in detail based on Tracy's presentation and the written materials. And the committee is recommending that you adopt the staff recommendations for both of those, one of which is to approve and one of which is to disapprove the requests. The committee also was asked by Tracy to provide any feedback. The Metropolitan Water District lawsuit payment distribution was something just north of $900,000, and she asked the committee if we had any thoughts on how that money should be used. And after a brief discussion, the committee decided to fold that conversation into the upcoming mid-year budget review so that those funds can be viewed in the context of all the other funds that have been potentially reallocated and what's the best use of them. So we'll be weighing in on that at a later date. And then finally, I noticed that item 31 is going to be discussing a board member replacement for Carl's departure, so that we have a member of the board on our committee. And I think I know what that answer is going to be based on the Budget and Finance Committee's agenda that's been published, but I'll just say we're looking forward to having a board member back represented on the committee. So that's the report we have for today.
Thank you. Engineering and Operations.
Right. That committee has met twice since the October 28th regular board meeting, once on November 3rd, once on December 1st. At the November 3rd meeting, the committee recommended that the board approve your calendar item number 24, which is the Helix amendment for the programmatic EIR. That's a very important piece of work, and the amount of work that needs to be done as a result of the initial findings, we think is in order. So we recommend that you do that. And furthermore, at the December 1st committee, there were no items that the committee recommended. There were no items where we were asked to make a recommendation to the board, but I do want to point out that there were two RFPs, both of which are substantial for various reasons, that the committee reviewed and is providing feedback to the staff. One is the San Luis Rey groundwater RFP. That's a very important piece of work, and the staff has done a very good job in putting together an RFP for the services to perform a very extensive review of what our options are, what the feasibilities will be, and the cost for that. And that's all in your in process, and I think it's going to be very productive work. And the second item was the Sumac communications tower, the solar photovoltaic and backup battery system to provide emergency power for that facility. And again, the staff did a good job in putting together a very prescriptive spec to meet their requirements. And so we may be providing a few additional comments, but in general, the committee was very pleased with that work. We also noted, it's kind of hard to steal Robert's thunder today, but in view of his accolades, but it was reported on December 1st that the North River Road update of the phase 3, which are the manhole renovations all along the road, was as of the December 1st meeting was 98% complete. They are anticipating completing all of that work before the end of December. So I'm guessing you'll have a closeout request in front of you in January, but Yahoo, that project is essentially done, due and done. We're happy about that.
I think they just finished the last of the testing yesterday.
There we go.
And everything passed.
There we go. DU and done. We love it. And then finally, I noticed that item 25 the cathodic protection contract. We are looking forward to seeing that work progress, and we look forward to hearing what the board does with that item in front of you today. So I think that's all that we have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Flint. Board action items, item number 21, presentation and acceptance of the audit report and financial statements for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2021.
Okay, we're going to have a presentation by the auditors. I'd like to introduce Ryan Domino. He's on our Zoom right now, so he'll be doing a short presentation on the audit process and results. And then I will follow up with a quick overview of the financials.
I don't know if Freddie or one of those guys can move that thing, so it's not
Okay.
blocking the, well, there's,
Got it. Yeah.
when they put a presentation up, it blocks part of it. There we go.
Oh, good shot.
Just minimize
Make it bigger.
Make it.
How's that? Okay, Ryan, do you want to go ahead and share your screen and say hello?
Certainly. Good afternoon, everybody.
So I gotta move mine now.
Let me pull my PowerPoint up.
Move it away.
Oh, did I freeze up? Hello.
There it
There
is.
it is.
We hear you.
Let's keep it going.
Sorry, internet issues.
It's slow.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for having me here to present the results of our annual 2021 financial audit. So I have a brief presentation for you today that kind of will go over what we did and the results of those procedures, and I'd be more than happy to take any questions you may have at the end of my presentation. So without much further ado, the audit responsibilities and process. So my firm, LSL, has been engaged by the district to perform a financial audit and to assist the district in preparing the annual financial statements. The point of the audit is to obtain reasonable assurance on the fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. What that means is we don't audit every single transaction, because that would be absolute assurance, and there's not enough time in the world to do every single transaction. So what we have is a concept of materiality, where we will look at transactions that would impact the decisions of users of the financial statements, be it dollar amount, be it compliance related items, and we audit towards those kinds of transactions. We also obtain an understanding of internal controls over the financial reporting. And the purpose for that is not to render an opinion on those internal controls as to whether or not they are properly designed and implemented, but rather to help us plan our audit procedures and focus on those areas where there may be more risk or more importance for the audit. Moving on, so our audit process is more or less broken into 3 phases. At interim, we call it our interim audit. That's usually done before June 30th. And during this time, we will plan the procedures we're going to do. We'll assess the internal controls that the district has in place and assess risks to basically figure out what we're going to come back and dive deep into during our year-end procedures. At year end, which this year, I believe it was in September of 2021, we conducted the actual diving into the details and looking at the numbers and making sure that they're correct and accurate. So some of the procedures we do is just an analysis. We'll look at trends year over year, develop expectations, and investigate variances that go outside of our expectations. We also confirm significant bank accounts, debt-related items, things like that. And then we will do cutoff procedure testing to ensure that all the transactions of the year were recorded in the correct accounting period. Once all those audit steps are complete, that's when we start phase 3, and that's the preparation of the financial statements. So the financial statements that are, I believe, are in your packet. It is an annual comprehensive financial report, meaning it is to the GFOA's high standards. And there's 3 segments of that report: the introductory section, the financial section, and the statistical section. So LSL, we will help the district in preparing the financial section, which includes the independent auditor's report. The MD&A is prepared by the district, and it is a great resource to understanding the changes year over year. The statements and footnotes, and then the required supplementary information schedules. So we go through all of that process for the whole purpose of rendering an audit opinion. And this is the important letter in the beginning of our report. Basically, the format may have changed a little bit this year. I don't know if anyone caught that, but there were some new statements of auditing standards that came out that changed the format of the letter, and it more clearly communicates some of the things that we do. But by and large, the terminology is still the same. We rendered an unmodified opinion, which means that the information in these statements is in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and is materially correct. So it's the best and highest opinion that we can render on the financial statements. Along with the audit opinion letter, we also render a SAS 115, which is our internal control letter, and then just a general auditor communication letter. The SAS 115 letter that we issued along with the report describes any sort of internal control related matters that we identified during an audit. So if there were any issues in internal control that were material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in the audit, that's where they would be communicated. Also, if we came across any sort of material non-compliance with laws, regulations, grants, things like that, that had a financial statement impact, we would report that in this letter. And I'm very pleased to report that the letter is clean. We found no weaknesses, no deficiencies, and no material non-compliance. So it's a good, clean report. And then the last letter that we issue as part of our audit is just the auditor communication letter. And it kind of just describes in a written form the presentation I'm giving you now. It talks about significant estimates used by management in this financial statements, which really for the district are just the pension and OPEB liabilities as they're determined by an actuarial estimate. It would describe any difficulties that we encountered during the audit, of which there were none. All the misstatements during the year were obviously immaterial and were corrected by management, so none of those were made it into the final report. We had no disagreements with management as far as the application of accounting principles or anything like that. And then the last part of that letter is a list of upcoming new GASB pronouncements that may impact the district. And the only one that really took effect this year that impacted the district was GASB 98, which changed the name from the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report to the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, mainly due to the acronym that was previously used being fairly objectionable in South Africa actually it was a racial slur. So that was good to get rid of. So in summary, we were engaged to perform a financial audit. The financial audit resulted in an unmodified opinion, which is, as I mentioned before, the best opinion we can render. We came across no material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, or material non-compliance, and there were no other significant audit issues or findings to communicate. So that is it for my presentation, and I am more than happy to take any questions you may have this time.
Any questions? Any comments?
Thank
Yeah,
you.
congratulations to our
Yeah.
controller for a remarkably clean report and a very complimentary one at that. And that the accounting system and staff of the district have made huge progress in the 3 years since I served on the board. That redounds to all of you who have served on the board over that 3 years, and to Tom and our legal staff, as well as other members of the organization who all have cooperated with Stacy in really revolutionizing the accounting system and finance system of the district. I read that thing and I was just absolutely
Thank you.
enthralled by it. I must tell you.
That makes two people.
So the
Did you read it, Tracy? Okay.
You and her.
Just us.
And Flint.
Oh, Flint. Oh, of course, Flint. did.
So the process, it took you how long from start to finish?
For this year's audit,
Yep, compared to, and then compare it to
compared to
when you
prior
first
years.
came on.
Well, prior years, we didn't get to a clean audit my first year here. So it was really an accumulation of effort from when I started and, started cleaning things up, getting the GL, getting the new software until last year when we got the clean audit. This year was a lot more efficient than last year's audit. But yeah, we're in a really good place.
It took you how long?
Basically 3 years.
But this year,
For
from
this
from the
year's
time you
audit.
started, yeah.
This year's audit, they were out here for a week and we had it all wrapped up pretty much within the week.
Wow.
Wow.
And we did
Yeah.
it early. We did it the first week of September. It's a holiday week,
Wow.
but it's nice to get it out of the way earlier in the audit season because then you get more time and
Yeah.
you get the auditors when they're fresh too.
Tracy, I got a question for you. The letter it keeps on talking, or the multiple different types of letters.
Mhm.
Do we send those on to the state, or we just keep that as a reference in a file?
We keep them in a file. They're also on our website with the report.
So we don't have to send anything to the state?
There are certain people who will look at them like lenders and things like that, who will take a look.
LAFCO.
Mhm.
LAFCO, who doesn't quite know how to read financial reports, but that's.
Yeah, they are a part of the compiled Acre. So anyone we share our full financials with will see it. You guys will all get a bound copy.
We used to call these CAFRs, but you're not allowed to use that word anymore because apparently it's a derogatory term in South Africa. So we didn't know that. So now it's ACFR. There'll probably be a committee somewhere working on a new name. So
Mhm.
That's no, actually the GASB has defined the name, so that is going to be the permanent name as far as we know at this point.
I have no,
Do I have a motion for acceptance?
so move.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Gasca, seconded by Director Mack.
Is that option one?
Yes.
I don't-
There is.
There was no
It's
option. It just
im-
to.
Accept or
accept.
or not.
Okay, accept the audit. Okay, Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Matt,
Aye.
Director Moss.
she had to drop off. She texted me a little bit ago.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
so she's absent, and Director Stewart.
Aye.
Item number 22, discussion and possible action to approve a variance from ordinance 21-03 to allow a lot larger than a half acre to qualify for a capacity class B 3/4 inch meter and approve the capacity class water use agreement, Division 3.
That would be mine. This is a request from a customer. They would like to go to a 3/4 inch meter. They have an existing 1 inch meter on a 1.38 acre parcel. We don't usually allow them to go down to a 3/4 inch unless they have requested variance to the board and they have their usage below 50 units per month. And this customer does not have their usage below the required 52 units per month. They're at 62.42. So staff is requesting that we deny the variance at this time and have the customer reapply when they can show that they are 12 months of usage below.
So the earliest they could apply is 12 months.
They have to have, they should, based on their usage over the last 12 months, I think in the next 3 months, if they continue their current usage, then they'll go under with
go
the
under.
average.
Okay.
But right now they're considerably above it. So
And we'll send a letter to that effect. Is that correct?
absolutely.
Okay. Is there a motion, any further discussion? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to deny the variance request.
That's option 2,
Option
Don.
2.
Second.
Moved by Director Gasca, second by Director Smith. Stewart.
One that starts with an S.
Yeah, this guy.
That guy.
The Superman.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Matt,
Aye.
Director Moss is absent, and Director Stewart.
Yes.
Item number 23, discussion and possible action to approve a variance ordinance from ordinance 21-03 to allow a lot larger than a half acre to qualify for capacity class B 3/4 inch meter and approve a capacity class water use agreement.
This,
Great.
this is a similar request. The customer currently has a 1.5 inch meter. They're asking to go down to a 3/4 inch meter. They're on an 11.92 acre parcel. They're using 0 units per month right now, which is obviously below the required 50 units per month. So we are recommending approval of this variance.
Any further discussion?
Does this property have a well? Is that why you're using 0?
I
It's
think
unoccupied.
I think
It's
it
not
used
one.
to be agricultural land
Mhm.
and there's no longer grove there. So no houses, no nothing. It's
Nothing,
just-
yeah.
So they want to maintain having water service, but they don't need to pay for an 1.5 inch meter when they're not using any water.
I
Like-
move that we accept option, is it option 2? To
Option one.
approve the,
Oh,
option 1 to
one.
approve.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Hamilton, seconded by Director Gasca.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Matt,
Aye.
Director Moss, and Director Stewart.
Aye.
Item number 24, discussion and possible action to approve a contract change order for the Helix Environmental Contract to prepare a programmatic environmental impact report for district facilities in the amount of $65,140, an extension of contract term through June 30th, 2022. It's my understanding this contract has actually expired.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it expired at the end of November.
Yeah.
Thank you. And as Flint Nelson mentioned, this was brought to the Engineering and Operations Committee for their review. So when the district first started this contract with Helix Environmental, and programmatic environmental impact report is a mouthful, so we just call it the PEER. It was only for certain sections of water and sewer pipelines. And it was during the course of working with Helix that district staff decided to go ahead and encompass all district water and sewer facilities. If the board will recall, this was brought to the, we did a presentation for the E&O committee and the board of directors in April of 2021, where Helix showed all the different lines and they were green, yellow, and red, so on and so forth. So we are in support of option 1 of this. I would also like to note that this change order does also include a credit of $11,050, which was for a hydrology water quality technical report that we no longer need. So it's a good amount of money, but it's necessary. And as President Hamilton said, the contract has expired at the end of November. This would extend it through and encompass all facilities.
Yeah, this is a super important project that'll help streamline our environmental review and compliance efforts and save a ton of money down the line. So we're recommending the board approve this change order and get this one finished off and move on.
Any additional discussion? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve option 1.
Second.
Moved by Director Gasca, seconded by Director Stewart.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Matt,
Aye.
Director Moss, and Director Stewart.
Aye.
Item number 25, consider the award of a construction contract in the amount of $3,400,
345,000.
sorry, $345,000 with Corpro Companies for Rainbow Valley Boulevard Cathodic Protection Project in Division 5.
Thank you. The district went out to bid for the cathodic protection project. We received 3 bids. The first was from Corpro Companies. That was in the amount as stated, $345,000. The second bid was from Far West Corrosion Control Company for $524,703.14. And the third bid was from K Construction Company in the amount of $722,404.19. This project was originally started before we had design and the engineer's estimate. So regardless of which direction we go, we are asking for an additional allocation of funds, which is mentioned in the staff report. Out of those 3 bids, Corpro was reviewed by staff as the lowest and responsive bidder. However, we have received a bid protest from the second low bidder, Far West Corrosion Control Company. Staff has been in contact with legal counsel and also the district's general manager. On that, we have three options for the board to consider. Options 1, award to Corpro. Option 2, reject all bids. And an option 3, provide other direction to staff.
On advice of legal counsel, after considering all facts and circumstances in applicable law and the facts and objections set forth in the bid protests filed by Far West, it is recommended that the board reject the low bid of Corpro. I would like to move approval of option 3. Option 3 would be appropriate an additional $380,000 in project costs for the CIP budget for this project. Point 2, approve the construction agreement with Far West Corrosion Control in the amount of $524,703.14. Point 3, authorize the general manager to execute the construction contract. And point 4, make a determination that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA. That's moved by Director Hamilton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Director Stewart.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Matt,
Aye.
Director Moss, and Director Stewart.
Aye.
Item number 26, discussion and possible action to approve a contract change order for Helix Environmental Contract to conduct cultural and tribal monitoring.
Chad, can I jump in on this one?
Absolutely.
So as you all know, we're building the Rice Canyon Pipeline project that comes down the hill that is right immediately adjacent to some very significant cultural resources of the local bands. And as part of the compliance process, tribal monitoring of the excavations is recommended based on the potential proximity to cultural remains and things like that. I've talked to Shasta at Paula. They don't think they're going to find much on that hill because that's not where you would normally have a burial site or things like that. But that some of those paths, they say, have been used both by game and people for thousands of years here. So there's some potential for this. And so normally in these things, you will have some tribal monitoring. This contract, most of the money goes to pay for a person from the tribes to be on site for 100 days. We're choosing it for this project because the way it's structured with Tri-Point and there are all the different players in here, just to have this go through Rincon, Amanda and Chad are also talking to all the tribes in our area about a master agreement to where we'll agree when we're doing projects in certain areas that we'll just pay them directly rather than going through a consultant like Helix. But this is really an important part of working in areas that have tribal significance. You know, as I'm sure I've taken a lot of you on the tours, we have our sewer siphon that runs right next to those amazing set of grinding stones. And so this is an important part of our commitment to our tribal neighbors to make sure that our work doesn't interfere with their cultural resources. And just want to let you know that this does encompass both divisions 4 and 5 around the split, and that sometime probably in the spring of next year, we'll have a master agreement with our 5 local bands to establish a more direct way that will probably shave some of the cost off because we won't have an intermediary and whatnot. So that's coming.
The tribal observer was half the cost of the archaeological observer.
Yeah, well, yeah, hey, well, there you have it.
But I'd rather deal directly with the tribes just from a political standpoint.
Sure.
So that means that there'll be a monitor active on site during all the construction work. Or
Watching the excavation.
9 hours a day.
9 hours a day.
And
Yeah.
there'll actually be
Okay.
2. There'll be an archaeological expert and a tribal expert.
Yeah, and that's Helix. Yeah, the main point, and there are these situations to where if the tribal person is comfortable with people doing the work, they don't stand there and watch every bucket. But that's really, I think it's a matter of trust.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's at the beginning, I'm sure they'll be there the whole time. And they have a sense for where they're likely to find stuff and not. based on the area. But you know, that hillside right nearby is very culturally significant to the local bands and part of the creation story of all the people who grew through this valley. So
So refresh my memory, there was no biological concerns on the route.
right, the biological concerns were handled through a CEQA amendment that
Right.
we did on that, and you know, it's all covered. There was one small bit of coastal sage that's being disturbed, but it was mitigated through the process. So
Okay. Good.
but we don't expect now, if they do find some ancient burial ground, that was going to slow things down and cost more money. But at least the people I've talked to with the tribes don't expect to see that in this area.
Correct. And the representative from the Rincon Band of Indians and also Helix Environmental trained the contractor on what to do, what to look for, what to do if they do find it. The monitors are out there. And so we just had our first progress meeting today on this project.
Cool.
And so far, knock on wood, everything is going very well on the project and all parties are happy. I would also note, Tom and I went back and forth. We wanted to work directly with the
Right.
tribe itself also. And in this case, they actually preferred and requested the district go through Helix on this one.
Oh, okay.
But we're just working on that for all the next
Correct.
series of projects. And if we start doing groundwater work out there and we're drilling wells and whatnot, that'll be part of the process. Pardon me.
Tom?
Is any further discussion? Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve option 1.
Director Gaskin moves, Director Hamilton seconds.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Matt,
Aye.
Director Haas, and Director Stewart.
Aye.
Item number 27, discussion and possible action to adopt resolution of necessity resolutions number 21-22, 21-23, 21-24, and 21-25, authorizing the acquisition of easements by eminent domain from portions of the properties located at 5555 Mission Road, 5517-27 Mission Road, 5256 Mission Road, and APN 126-230-68, Bonsall, California 92003 in Division 2.
So Chad, which one of these don't we need?
Okay.
You can clarify.
Thank you. We no longer need resolution 21-23.
Okay.
Yes, I think we will have a speaker from the public on this one. So, yeah, I mean, I think Chad, if you want to give a brief description from the staff report, then we can let whoever our speaker is
Okay.
have the floor.
So the district staff, we're bringing forward the pursuit of easement acquisition through the eminent domain process for the Lift Station 1 replacement project phase 1. The easements are all located within Division 2. Staff's recommendation is to approve option 1. Again, as noted, striking resolution 21-23.
And that's 5517-27 Mission Road.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it is worth noting that we have come to a deal with that landowner and are proceeding accordingly on that one, which is why that eminent domain is no longer processed. Also, just for the board's clarification, this is not saying that the district is going to eminent domain. What we are doing is continuing the negotiation process, but starting a 6-month clock where if we cannot reach terms between both parties, then it would go to eminent domain. So this starts that. All parties were notified that this public hearing would be occurring today. All parties were also informed that this mailer would go out. District staff has had communication with all parties explaining the process because they get a letter and it says eminent domain on it. The first question is, hey, I thought we were talking. So we are working through that with them. So with that,
Okay, Freddie, if you've got our public speaker, can you? Is it?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You got the floor.
Thank you. This is Doug Borvell. I'm outside counsel for To Go to Sorrow Company, which has the fee interest in the property 5555 Mission Road. I do have a preliminary question, and that is I submitted a December 1 letter, and if someone there could kindly let me know whether it's part of the administrative record, it might modify my time.
We can certainly make that part of the administrative record.
Thank you. In light of that, I will give a much more abbreviated discussion. One of the primary concerns that's discussed in the letter is the fact that the proposed easement will encroach over and across a UST farm at the property. And
Underground
that's-
storage tank.
Yes, underground storage tank. So in other words, well, the actual pipeline, if situated in the center of the easement, might just be beyond the boundaries of the UST tank farm. And even that, we're not quite sure that that will be the case, but presuming that's true, the easement itself, though, will still clearly encroach over and into the UST tank farm. That obviously raises a number of concerns, safety concerns, for example, during any installation of the pipeline. It may require the removal of the USTs and so forth. So I would strongly encourage the board to delay or defer consideration of the particular RON that concerns that property, which is, I believe, 2122, until such further time as the parties can have further discussions. I know this earlier, Mr. Williams noted that in adopting the RON, the parties are the district is not committing the litigation, it's just starting the process. I would agree with that, but I would also remind the board that the board needs to be blunt, live or die by the RON that they adopt now later in litigation. So if they adopt, the board adopts this RON today, they are in essence, if they do go forward with litigation, they are going to have to justify to the court why they adopted a RON with an easement that runs through a tank farm without strong, substantial justification for why it was not moved eastward. So for that reason, I would strongly encourage the board to consider deferring or reconsidering the RON for that property at this time.
Does that conclude your comments?
It does, presuming my letter is part of the administrative record, yes.
Well, I guess we would have to defer to council here on that with that, because I do believe that unless the engineers can determine that the tank farm isn't in the way, but there will be a modification of this. And as I understood it from the letter, that other than a few other access things, that the location, their proximity to the tank farm is one of the more substantive challenges with this acquisition. Alfred, how would you advise the board to move forward on that particular one? Would deferral for a month till the engineers can sort things out be an appropriate move? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Bernadette. All right, that's right. Where is she? I don't see her yet. Oh, there she is. All right, Bernadette, we're passing it over to you. What say you?
I think it's up to the board. However, as Chad was saying, this isn't something that we're going to go and file tomorrow. And we've got some time to work with the engineers, look at the easement location. But because of how long the court process takes to get possession of the property in order to start construction of the project, it is recommended that the resolution be adopted today and we can continue to work with the property owner on concerns they may have. In the end, if we are unable to realign or adjust the easement, then it would just be a matter of compensation. How much damage is this going to cause the property owner? And we would have appraisers that would analyze that, and that would be part of the litigation that we would file.
Thank you.
There you have it.
So when you said have the engineers look at it, who are you referring to?
Our engineers and the engineers for
Kennedy Jenks.
our engineers, Kennedy Jenks, and who drew this up, and the engineers who have the drawings on where the extent of the fuel tanks are. And I guess there's been some back and forth recently on about exactly where that is. We thought we were outside of it, and they said, no, we don't think you are. So this really comes down to aligning it, that we're stuck between those tanks and Caltrans. And either we go up in a conflagration of gasoline fumes, or we have to deal with Caltrans, and I'm not sure which one's worse. But I had to throw that one in there.
We're also now in a position where we have a contractor on board, and that contractor will have ideas and possibly better methods as well. And so we're in a position, as Bernadette stated, where we can continue to evaluate this.
Well, do we know if they're double wall steel tanks or if they're?
Yeah, we don't want to be anywhere
Yeah,
near
near
where
the
those
tank.
fuel storage tanks
Yeah,
are.
right.
But we're going to be somewhat near them, but I think there's room here for this thing to move a little bit to the south.
Yeah.
Whether it has to move 10 feet over here, 10 feet over there, you get into other things that are along the edge of the property line that.
And Doug, I think you're still unmuted. You weren't saying it was the pipeline that it was the question. It was the width of the easement over the tank farm, correct?
Yes, it is possible the pipeline itself may also encroach upon the tank farm. It's just too difficult to tell, but I don't think there's any dispute that the easement itself does clearly encroach upon the UST. tank
Okay.
farm.
Well, that's
So we
kind
might,
of a
we might
different issue.
narrow
than-
the easement right in
Yeah.
that particular area.
Yeah.
It is a fairly broad easement being, well, almost
Providing
like 20 feet.
construction access.
The reason I was asking is I know in the past, the use of magnetometers and other devices are pretty straightforward if you're working
Access from
with
the
steel
first two
tanks.
lanes of 70.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of-
Fiberglass or, overwrap tanks or.
usually those things, if
carbon
we can get their
overlap.
as-built and you can find the vents and whatnot, you
Yeah.
know exactly where that sucker is, and we
Right.
want to stay well clear of that with our facilities.
Okay.
I think we have a commonality of interest really with.
Yeah.
With
Right.
the
Yeah.
service station, and we can find our way. Hope council for them appreciates the fact that we do have some time constraints to work with, that we're just trying to start a clock.
Yep.
And if that and we can stop that clock at any time just as easily.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if there was a question directed to me or if it was just a statement.
I just said that I'm sure that you realize that we do have a commonality of interest. We don't want to be on top of your tanks, that's for sure. We just have a need for the project to be able to move forward at some point as we reach agreement. And we have to start the clock on that. We can stop the clock too. But right now it's just a matter of creating a horizon of 6 months, did you say?
Correct.
That will give us ample time, and we have every intent to find an amicable solution.
Yeah, and if I wasn't invited to comment, I apologize. Please just tell me to stop. But in response to what I think is a question or comment directed to me, my point though is you have, by adopting the RON today, that is the RON you have to live with if you get to the point where you have to file suit and moving forward. And I've had the situation before where a public entity adopts the RON and sort of on the assumption that, well, we'll work out the details later on. If they can't get worked out, then the agency finds itself in a position where now it's 3 or 4 months down the road and they have to go back to square one because there are potential serious defects with the RON. Now, I understand your council may have a different perspective on that, but that's just my view. Thank you.
Bernadette, can you comment?
Sure. I think we've got what we have right now is our engineering information. The best information that we have is that the pipeline does not interfere with the underground storage tanks. The width of the easement may, but this is our alignment. This is, the best location that we've been able to identify for the project. If it turns out that we can adjust that or work with the property owner on that, that's great. But what we're trying to look at is, here's the alignment, here's the easement that we need. And all of our information from engineers has said that we're not going to interfere with that underground storage tank farm. And so if we were to proceed to eminent domain to acquire the easement before the board today, it would be located in a manner that is acceptable and appropriate. And if there are concerns after that, we would address it in the litigation with damages claims from the property owner.
Can we amend the easement between now and when the clock runs out in 6 months?
So the 6-month clock is if we adopt a resolution of necessity, we have 6 months in order to file an eminent domain action.
Okay,
We may end up, because of the timing we have with our contractor, we may end up filing prior to that 6 months, outside date. But we can, if we're to work with the property owner on a location and that alleviates all of their concerns, I don't see why we couldn't get into a settlement agreement or other stipulated agreement where this is the area we're going to acquire. And that can happen in the litigation as well. If we file and say, here's the easement that we want, and the parties stipulate to adjusting that easement, we can do that.
okay.
And if we ultimately want to, of our own accord, adjust the easement area, we can bring it back to board and get another resolution adopted for that new easement area if needed.
Does that reset the clock or anything? I mean.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So
But that's-
our intention is to get the engineering details worked out in a way that satisfies their issue and come to a common agreement and never try to push this through for the courts. That's the last thing we want to do.
No.
But we just also wanted to get it on the calendar so that we can make sure everybody's
My
focused on. trying to
question was
resolution.
in response to Mr. Gravel's comment was it sounded like we were locking ourselves into this particular easement by filing our intent at this time. And-
Which with this resolution, that is essentially correct. We would be saying this is the easement that we're going to acquire, but that doesn't mean that we can't adjust it in the future and bring it back before the board or adjust it with an agreement with the property owner.
Okay. Thank you. Any additional discussion? Is there a motion?
Are there any more comments?
Any more comments?
No other people? Okay.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move that I think it's option 1.
As modified to remove number
21,
21, 23, Chad?
21-23, yes.
Yep. So it's just 21, 22, 21, 24, and 21, 25.
Yes, that.
Second.
Moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Stewart.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Matt,
Aye.
Director Moss, and Director Stewart.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item number 28.
Carlene, I believe this one's you, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Should I read it into the record first? Do you need that, Dawn?
No.
Okay. Go ahead, Carlene.
Okay, so staff is recommending an update to the approved pay grade structures. In our effort to ensure that we remain optimally staffed, we're recommending adding 2 new job classifications to the pay grades and ranges. The first is for a construction and meter supervisor classification. The existing meter supervisor position was not in existence until 2018. Previously, they had a lead reporting directly to a manager. And the intent was to give the department leadership resources between those 2 levels, especially in anticipation of the WhatsApp project that was beginning soon after that point. Since then, we've had 2 different supervisors in that position, and the most recent one left in July of 2021. While we did conduct a search for a replacement for that position, we had the construction supervisor filling in, overseeing both departments while we conducted the search. Over the past few months, we've since reevaluated our long-term needs for the department. And staff is recommending that we create this new supervisor classification that combines the construction meters under the same supervisory role. And then we'll use that headcount somewhere else in the organization. And staff is currently evaluating where that will be best used, and we'll make a future recommendation to the board in that regard. So that is the first classification that we're recommending adding. And the second is a senior fleet mechanic. We currently have 2 levels in this series. This would be adding a 3rd level to the series. This is a single incumbent position, and meaning it's a department of 1 essentially. The mechanic reports directly to the operations manager. And although it's not a supervisory role because it's a department of 1 person, they do perform a lot of project management tasks, budgeting advisory, and collaboration with the operations manager. Things that a higher level title and pay grade would likely be more representative of the duties performed by that incumbent. So this change would not add to the district's headcount, but create a promotional pathway.
Yeah, just say this is really something, the recognition of 2 really excellent employees. We have Isa Lagunas, who's the construction supervisor, whose capabilities have been, well, I think Bill, you were talking to me about some changes you've seen in the field, how the crews, and proven to be a very organized and professional person. Just finished his bachelor's degree, starting to work on his master's degree, and has capacity. And as WSUP comes down, we want to try to leverage that also as part of some of the continuity planning on the staffing level. And then Renee Del Rio, this whole district wouldn't run like it does without Renee, because he works his butt off out there, keeping every truck, every whacker, every saw cutting machine, backhoes, all running in good order. So when you have a job market like we have, people like him are in very high demand around, and he's been topped out at this lower level, the kind of journeyman level position for a long time. How long's Isa worked here? He's been.
Are you talking about Isa or Renee?
No, I mean Renee.
Renee's been here about 14 years, I
Yeah,
think,
so-
off the top of my head.
About the same time, yeah, longer than that, yeah. But
Yeah.
so this is just kind of recognizing that the performance is well above what his job description is, and just trying to right size it.
And yes,
And it doesn't, let's say he retires at some point, it doesn't eliminate the other positions to bring somebody in. But when you have a department of 1, you can't have one guy who's learning the ropes being the department of 1. You need somebody who really knows what they're doing.
exactly. And same with the construction meter supervisor position. This does not eliminate the meter supervisor classification. If at some point in the future, a staffing analysis, we want to refill that position, it doesn't eliminate that possibility in the future.
Any additional discussion? Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve option 1.
I'll second.
Director Gasca moves option 1, seconded by Director Mack.
Director Gaston,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Mack,
Aye.
Director Moss, and Director Stewart.
Aye.
Item number 29, discussion and possible action to adopt ordinance 21-08, amending and updating the administrative code section 2.03.010.02 compensation.
So this is in reference to the discussions we had around Director Rinfleisch's request for phone call per diem stuff. And so there's a red line version indicating that the board had approved a monthly meeting with the general manager, a compensable event. But we modified it after some discussion with the board about it needs to be an in-person meeting, and it to be scheduled in advance and related to a specific topic, and be about an hour at least, not a 5-minute phone call. So that's where the origin of this was, just to clarify that for current and future board members. So I don't have to line item out board per diem requests, which is uncomfortable.
Yep. In any further discussion?
Makes sense.
Do I have a motion?
I move, I would move option 1.
And I second that. Moved by Director Stewart, option 1, seconded by Director Hamilton.
Director Gaston,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Mack,
Aye.
Director Moss, and Director Stewart.
Aye.
Item number 30, approval of resolution 21-26, establishing check signing authority.
This is a standard housekeeping item when we have a change in the board for check signing authority to remove Director Unfleisch and add Director Stewart.
Yep.
So
Any discussion? If not so, I move that we accept, what is it, option one?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Director Hamilton, seconded by Director Mack on option one.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Mack,
Aye.
Director Moss, and Director Stewart.
Aye.
Item number 31, discussion and possible action updating board of director membership on standing committees.
So as just like before, we have to adjust the compensation of the committees. Now, part of this has already been resolved because Bill resigned from the Communications and Customer Service Committee on November 30th. So that subsequent to us sending this stuff out, but the real question is that now we have a vacancy on the Budget and Finance Committee, and I know that he'd indicated a willingness to serve on that, but it's up to the board to appoint.
I move we appoint Director Stewart to the Budget and Finance Committee.
I'll second it.
Move to appoint Director Stewart to the Budget and Finance Committee by Director Hamilton, seconded by Director Gasca.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Mack,
Aye.
Director Moss, and Director Stewart.
Aye.
Item number 30.
Hang on, one question with regard to what we're doing with this one and the previous one. Director
Renflish.
Renflish was in what position?
He was
See-
on the Budget and Finance.
His budget.
No,
In
no,
terms
no.
of being
for
an
the board.
officer. an
Yeah, as an officer.
I don't recall. Don, do you remember?
I thought-
Oh, wasn't he
The-
Secretary.
treasurer?
Oh, no,
No,
no, he was the alternate on one of the other agencies, but we'll
The
do
wa-
committees and officers. No, I won't do it this year. I said-
well, all I
You-
want to, I don't want to
Or-
slow things
you know
down.
what,
I
I
just
think it
wanted
was
to,
the- I think it was the down at
Ad
the
hoc.
watershed and we haven't had. that.
okay, okay.
San Luis Ray Water.
Or-
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
we didn't
Yeah, I missed that another one.
missing out another one.
But
Yeah, that's all.
Was on.
And that one's defunct.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I
For the
understand.
headquarters?
That's too bad.
I can pull
Yeah.
that.
It was a good way of keeping.
Well,
tabs
that's
on
true.
Yeah.
needs and wants
Um,
and
Yeah, that's right. He was on that,
cooperating
wasn't
with
he?
the
Yeah, he didn't.
enterprise.
He was on the
Yeah.
district headquarters
I
ad hoc
think we ought to try
committee,
to
Yeah.
establish that.
and I
actually.
believe he was on the
If
San
not,
Luis
if
Ray
not a
watershed.
council.
Yeah.
Do you want to,
PCR.
I don't know if we can under this action item. Yeah, we can do it the next board meeting, but well, it's on standing committees. I guess the ad hoc committee is. Alfred, if we wanted to appoint someone else to the our ad hoc committee for the headquarters project to
Oh,
replace
that's
him,
right. He was
Yeah.
on the
could
headquarters.
we do that under
That's
this?
right.
I knew there was some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think Don just indicated that, or Mike just said that Pam was interested in doing that, being that she's the real estate maven. But I'm not sure if there's somebody else who would rather.
She's not here. Let's appoint her.
That's what you get for not.
I make
being
a
here,
motion
Pam.
to appoint.
Yeah, somebody can amend the motion to add Pam to the headquarters ad hoc committee.
Way it always works.
I'll make a motion to amend.
One last
Direct-
meeting.
Director Gaston moves to
I'll
appoint
second.
Pam Moss to the ad hoc office headquarters committee,
And I'll second.
and seconded by Director Mack.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Mack,
Aye.
Director Moss is absent, and
Point for
Director
you.
Stewart.
Aye.
for
with
everybody.
pleasure.
I gotta figure out who gets the last one.
Was it you or Bill that made the motion?
That was,
No.
Meg made the motion.
Yeah.
Meg did. Okay.
Yep.
Director Mack.
Okay. I'm just taking notes here.
I'll keep my head down on that one.
Any additional office keeping items that we need?
Just the next item on here, number 32.
Consider establishing the 2022 regular board meeting schedule.
So there it is. Don has looked into the different conferences and oops.
There is one conflict with our board meeting in August. That's the CSDA annual conference will be on August 22nd to the 25th.
Ooh,
So if we did this before, we moved the August meeting to a week prior, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that board members could attend that.
You
But
could
you know, if
also
we
go a
can,
week later.
if the emergency is still in place, we can do it virtually as well. You
Yeah,
could be
but,
at
but
conference.
then you have to have that location wherever people are doing it virtually.
No, not under the,
No,
not under SB.
Not under the
If the emergency is still
You don't
going,
have to post all the notices.
Right, right.
and have
That's
it
an if.
public.
So I just want
Well,
to
I
point that
mean,
out that that's the only-
Okay.
don't let a good emergency go to waste is what they're doing now, but I don't know.
That is the only conflict with the schedules I had so far. So just want to point that out.
You do have 5 Tuesdays in that month, so you could go to the last Tuesday in August as well.
August
30th.
August 30th or
30th.
Yeah,
that might, I mean,
Keep it
be a
the
better
same month.
solution.
Keep it in the same month.
But,
why don't we do that?
You're getting pretty close to Labor Day, but
yeah.
But it's a Tuesday, so
Mhm.
people shouldn't be heading out of town yet.
right.
Why don't we do that?
Okay, that's even better. Maybe we'll guarantee the emergency be gone by then. It's kind of like when you put in a heli hydrant, you never have fires.
Or when you go to a Raider game and you always lose.
Says the guy whose team lost to the Raiders on Thanksgiving. Uh-huh.
Everybody's
Uh-huh.
jumping on the poor Raider.
Oh, boy. You got a guy in the Aztecs lost. Discussion ensued.
So
There's 3 Raider fans in here, you know.
I'll move that we accept the calendar as stated, with the exception that August 23rd date is changed to August 30th.
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Oh, he'll second.
So moved by Director Hamilton and seconded by Director Stewart.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Matt,
Aye.
Director Moss, and Director Stewart.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item number 33, board member request for authorization to attend upcoming meetings, conferences, or seminars.
Got any?
I have not received any requests and there's nothing for this year, but if anyone wants to look over this calendar for next year, that was when you want to make your requests.
Okay.
Meeting dates.
On that, Don, on any conference, you want to be notified like 2 to 3 months prior to that conference?
I think
Usually, as soon as you get notified by them that it's out, let us know, because there's usually have early bird savings for registration, and trying to, some places get a hotel room is, you know how it is. You
It's-
don't want to be all the way out in
as
Seaside
early
or
as
whatever.
possible.
As
35
soon-
minute
as soon as
drive.
You know that you want to go and the information is published, and I think we can go ahead and get those done because the hotel room reservations are the most difficult part.
Yeah, it gets bonkers.
Do CSA, DA and Aqua have their schedules published for next year yet?
Dawn has looked at them, but they haven't opened registration yet. That's where she,
Okay, yeah, all right, good enough.
In the location.
All right, very good, thank you. Yes, I see it. I hadn't looked at it.
Hello.
Okay. Board information items.
Tracy's got the cash reserve policy compliance report.
I actually did have a financial presentation to go with item 21 that I could give now, if that's okay.
Unless you're all too tired.
I can hold it for next month. You guys
With
decide.
item 21.
The
Yeah, it was
audit.
with
Going
The
back?
audit, the finance, it was with, you need to know how the financials came out.
Yeah.
It's a quick
Yeah,
one, okay?
That'd be good.
Sure.
I'd like
you.
to.
In the black.
Did
vote.
we?
Yeah, in the black.
Like
We
it's
did
good.
good.
Only if it, I was going to say, only if it's good news, Tracy. If it's bad news, then just shut it down right now.
Can you, one of you guys minimize that thing?
Sure.
Oh.
See how it disappears when I try to touch it?
Oh, yeah.
There we go. How's that?
That's better.
Okay.
Big head out of it.
So the district had a great year financially. It feels a bit off saying that when our goal is to just meet cost recovery. But as the board knows, the 2.5 years we went without the rate increases resulted in less than full recovery and brought our projected reserve levels below the board approved amounts. However, the higher than budgeted sales last year and the rate increase that we did in August that put the district in a conservative financial position. So in essence, this is a really good story. Our operating revenues increased by 10 million. Sales were 3,000 acre feet more than the prior year. Operating expenses increased by 900,000, but remember, this is a good news story. 4.5 million of that was for the cost of water. So we had a net decrease in operating expenses. That was mainly due to expenses that were capitalized that were budgeted through operating, including What's Up labor that was capitalized. So the potential savings from What's Up isn't something you're always going to see as a straight transfer. Sometimes it's embedded in these operational costs that you see come through in reductions like these. So our net position increased by 8 million. We had 10 million in additions for capital assets. That was comparable to the prior year. So we're doing good in building things and getting our projects done. So once the audit is complete, the fund balances are allocated according to the cash reserve policy, which you have as an informational item in your packet. And then those balances these are balances for our funds are updated to reflect those new beginning balances. So this is all of our operating funds. Basically, what we do is we just set these to what the board's approved in that cash reserve policy. But where you really see this is in the next slide. This is our water capital fund. So the beginning balances have been updated here. They're a lot higher than we had projected. This is good news. We've been able to, anything that I've changed from the budget book has been asterisked out with an explanation. So we've been able to eliminate the transfer from sewer, which is great news. The transfer from What's Up isn't on here, needed on here anymore either, but some of it is reflected in that $8.5 million opening balance because we were able to utilize the operating expenses through the labor utilization. Let's see, what else can I point out on here? We'll go over to the sewer. You can see we're doing well with sewer. I don't know if I can go back here. I also want to point out these ending balances here for the 5 years are well within our minimum target of 1 year of the average of the 5 years of the CIP. And we're working up to get to the ideal target of the 2 years by year 5. So that's really good news. And then in the wastewater fund, we no longer have that interfund loan to water. We're still looking pretty good. Year 3, it going out past 2 years is a kind of a crapshoot, but a lot can change, and we'll be looking at the rates this year. We're also going to do a capacity rate study on what we charge our developers. We're going to update that this year, so that has the capacity to change this.
It's also a reflection of that we're about to do the biggest sewer project we've ever done and replace the main backbone of a good portion of the district, that has been done since they redid the line here on 76. And then so the sewer system will be in pretty good shape.
So a quick update on the What's Up project. We put this in here too. We've got our, this shows the updated projection through the project completion. The original contract, less estimated expenses through March, in addition to the internal labor utilization, is showing a potential savings of 1.13 million still. This looks a little different than what you see in the finance packet because as of this morning, we have the estimated inventory order that we put in to complete the project through March. So we feel like the projections pretty fine tuned.
That did cost us a little more than what we were originally forecasting, being closer to 2 million in savings on What's Up, but it's projects running longer and it's a hard slog out there.
This is just an estimate, and I do want to point out that this slide I'm showing you looks a little different than the sheet in your packet.
Yeah.
Because I just got this updated this morning.
She asked me, should I show them the most recent or what that was in there? And I said, just show the most recent.
And again,
That's all right.
this is just an estimate of our savings once we
Okay.
complete the
Wait.
project. Oh, go ahead.
Before you go past that, when you're saying that's project savings, that's based on what the estimate was to implement
ABM.
What's Up across the.
The ABM contract, the original ABM contract that we
Yeah.
whacked and then brought it in-house.
Okay,
So
That-
was
that's
10
the
10-7,
savings.
The top
Right.
line.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
comparing to what the original plan
Okay.
was. I don't know
Okay.
if the board wants to keep seeing that or if you just want to see how the project's going, but in any case, I wanted to share that where
okay.
it was at.
And so then my next question is, what shows the impact that What's Up has had as we've been implementing it?
Oh, that's
Oh.
coming. We are just finishing our water loss.
Okay, so you don't
reporting.
have it in
Yeah.
this package.
not-
I don't have it in this
Okay,
packet, but that's
okay.
part of why we have a good news story to tell. here.
Right.
It's part of, our increased sales numbers.
We were
and everything
budgeting
that
at
we got
7%
to
water loss. This next year, we're probably going to budget closer to 2.
Ooh,
That's a tight system.
fantastic.
That's-
I don't know if I'll get there, but we'll see. We're just finishing up the audit. It's due
Okay.
and we have, later this week on it. And
It's
so,
a real
Even at
good
3.5
news
is
story.
good.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have to remember all those
Oh, yeah.
side benefits of this project.
yeah.
Well, that is the big, obviously, there's
That
a
is-
big benefits in getting standardization to our services and getting all that stuff cleaned up and located, but our non-revenue water numbers are going.
That's
Also
found
meter
water.
reader, isn't it?
Okay.
Cost the meter
Just
reader.
like if we go to
More
Eastern, that's found water. Okay.
Yeah, we were spending, we were only getting revenue on 93% of the water we were buying from the water authority. And we want to get that to close to 100 as we can.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
this last slide is just the cash balances that we aligned with the policy. And then I did give a full report on the health of those cash balances in the board report and also my plan for updating this policy. So that was it. Just a quick little. So you could see
And water
everything.
sales are tracking pretty much on where they were last year,
There,
which is above our forecast plan.
yeah, we'll see, because it looks like it's been another dry winter. I mean, although it's gonna
Mhm.
start raining this week,
Week.
and this is one of those damn, good news, bad news, because if it stays really dry, they're gonna force us to sell less. And so we won't get any benefit from it. And so you want it to like rain like cats and dogs up north and enough here, because
less.
well, I mean, there's a couple arguments on this, and I know if Rick Carey's listening, he'll be chiming in. They need to get some good rains to get the salts through the soil.
Yeah.
And if they have to every year use imported water to do that, they're just gonna go out of business. And then rather than selling 80% of the water to those growers, we're gonna sell 0% of the water to those growers, like the one that we adjusted their 1.5 meter to 3/4 using 0 water. So that's never good.
I did have a question. One of the line items in the loans was SRF Beck.
Yes.
Mhm.
We're paying for, is that Beck Reservoir?
Well, that was where it was named, but it's the one that paid for the covers on all 3 of the reservoirs.
Oh,
So the
Beck.
floating cover, Beck is just how it got named when it got
Okay.
done by the state. Because there was also,
We're buying, paying money on.
they had looked at covering Beck as well, but then pivoted to the treatment plant. But
Okay.
then when I got here, I'm like, we don't need another 200 million gallons of storage, for God's sakes.
No, that's fine. I just wanted clarification that it.
That's the name of it. It was given back whenever they did that 2011, I think.
Okay.
I don't know why, but we have to keep those names straight because that's how the state tracks it as well.
Tracks them. Okay, thank you. Any additional comments or feedback? Robert, you have anything to add?
Oh, I have one more on number 35, just as a formality to you folks, for the redistricting.
Redistricting.
I don't have any presentation. We've sent it out to you guys. If you have any comments about how it was aligned, I've talked to pretty much everybody individually, but if not, and we've sought input from our committee members and whatnot, we plan next month to bring them as an approval. Because I think Ahmed did a fantastic job.
He
It looks,
did,
it's and I don't have the.
I wish the county and state could do as well. I mean.
Yeah, that's yeah, it's a mess. That data's always been a mess, but it's about as good as it can get.
Right.
Okay, we'll take that as an action item.
Robert, you have any specific comments you'd like to make? Since this seems to be Robert's day.
Yeah, it is the Robert Gutierrez Day. The people are giving him plaques.
Just a quick update. I usually update the committees on the What's Up project, but today we just hit 84%. So it's another great milestone. And I just found out our vacuum crews, they actually did 46 backouts today.
Nice.
So that's great.
That's getting it done.
We've just met again. We're having more meetings frequently with our project manager, Chris Kelly, and Concord, trying to coordinate as we get closer to the end. It's a strange thing because we're trying to hit the reading schedule when we want to read meters and try and stay out of those areas the same date we're doing exchanges. We're doing some heavy traffic control up in the rainbow areas still, so we're trying to coordinate that. But we're making really good progress at this rate. Yeah, really good progress.
We can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
It's that when you look on the peak workflow chart, it has this yellow circle, and we started, you couldn't see the yellow circle.
Yeah.
and the yellow circle's made its way around and it's close.
Almost
Clean
touching.
Gap up. It's exciting, to say the least.
Cool. It's always good to see a project wrap up. Any additional items, receiving finance, excuse me, on receiving file?
Carleen, do you have anything to report other than what you already have?
No, the only other thing was going to be the top workplace, and I think that's already been covered.
Yeah, so you'll start seeing it in our email, and we can send them to you, a template for your email signature that has that on there. And we're gonna be branding a lot of stuff with that, because it's a great accomplishment.
Cool. Item number 37, list of suggested items for the next regular board meeting.
So I'll bring back the revisioning. I don't know if we'll have a preview of the mid-year budget in January, or will that be February?
It'll be February.
February?
We may have a preview. I'm not sure, but it'll come to the board in February.
There'll be a long list, I'm sure.
Yep.
Unless you guys have anything specific you'd like to put in.
If there's-
Actually, I was just looking at this, when you were mentioning that we are below last year right now, so.
A little bit.
Yeah, but we didn't budget like last year either,
Yeah.
so we're.
Yeah, since it came up earlier when the fire departments were here,
Yeah.
outreach to North County.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
Present, as far as,
We send the president.
send the president, yeah. Well, Robert, didn't they already have their meeting where our guys got recognized?
No, that's next week.
Oh, next week, because 2 of our employees are gonna be recognized at North County's meeting for helping put out a fire.
Fire, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I saw that. That was great.
Quite a.
I think that's December, their 14th. It's at the FPUD offices
6 p.m.
at 6 p.m. The 13th or 14th. Let's see.
So Miggy, you saying the board president should go?
Yeah.
I don't mind. I don't mind.
Somebody's got to represent us.
No,
I'll be there. The 2 gentlemen will be there, their supervisor. And since Fallbrook does their board meeting, or North County Fire Protection does their board meetings at FPUD headquarters.
And it's in the evening, 6
in the
6
evening,
p.m.
6 p.m.
Yeah.
What date?
14,
It's December 13th, actually. I'm
Oh,
just
13th.
looking,
Monday.
looking it up.
Is it Tuesday?
Monday.
I'm on their website.
on the 13th.
I've got it.
Yeah, 13th is Monday.
At what time?
I'm showing it on the 14th.
They sent us an email that said the 14th, but their website says the 13th.
Well, this would be an important thing to clarify.
We don't want to waste our president's time.
I'll put it in my calendar too. I didn't have it.
Everybody else does. Why you should?
Different day.
We're supposed to take. We adjourned?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
There's a-
Still got something to go?
I'm trying to type, you know, my thumbs aren't that good.
Oh, yeah, it's the 14th.
But
14th.
Yeah, it's the 14th.
So
Oh.
Tuesday the 14th.
All right, I better go back. and
Oh,
change
14. Okay.
Tuesday the 14th.
at 6 p.m.
At F, but.
All right, we got a budget and finance committee meeting. Maybe go up there.
If there are no other items, we're adjourned. Till next
Alrighty.
Tuesday, January 25th, 2022.
Thank you, everybody.